I'm crouched behind a marble mausoleum, my Burberry coat covered in mud, watching the last mourners leave my mother-in-law's funeral. My knees are pressed against the cold stone, and I can feel dampness seeping through the expensive fabric. But I don't move. I didn't plan this. After they lowered Eleanor's casket into the ground, after the priest finished his final prayers, after everyone else walked back to their cars with their black umbrellas and somber faces, I simply couldn't leave. Something kept me rooted here, hidden like a criminal at my own family member's burial. For 28 years, Eleanor Ashford looked at me like I was an imposter in her family. Even now, with 6 feet of earth between us, I feel like she's still hiding something from me. It's irrational, I know. The woman is dead. But that feeling in my gut, the one I've learned to trust after 3 decades in high-stakes investing, won't let me walk away. I watch Richard tell our children he needs a moment alone. Nathaniel and Sophie nod, understanding. They think their father wants privacy to grieve. They climb into the Blacktown car, and I watch it pull away down the winding cemetery road. My heart is pounding now. I should reveal myself. I should walk out from behind this ridiculous hiding spot and comfort my husband. But something stops me. Richard walks back to Eleanor's grave. His shoulders are shaking. I've been married to this man for 28 years, and I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen him cry. He's a senior partner at one of Manhattan's most prestigious law firms. He's argued cases in front of the Supreme Court. He's the man who held me when my father died, who never shed a tear at his own father's funeral. But now, standing over his mother's fresh grave, he's falling apart. He drops to his knees on the disturbed earth, not caring about his $1,000 suit. And then he starts talking. "Mom, I'm so sorry." His voice cracks. "I'm so sorry for everything, for being weak, for letting you control it all, for never having the courage to tell the truth." I feel ice spreading through my chest. "What truth?" "Isabella," he says, and the name hits me like a physical blow. Her name was Isabella Romano. You remember her, of course you do. You're the one who made her disappear. I grip the edge of the mausoleum. My hands are shaking. Who is Isabella Romano? She worked at my firm. God, Mom, she was 26 years old. Beautiful, smart, kind. Everything I thought I wanted before I married Vivian. No, that's not fair. I loved Vivian. I still love her. But you never approved of her, did you? Not good enough. Not the right family. Not old money like us. Each word is a knife. I want to stand up, to stop this confession, but I'm frozen. When Isabella told me she was pregnant, I panicked. I ran to you, like the coward I've always been. And you, being you saw an opportunity. Vivian had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. She was desperate, broken. Every month another failure. And you used that, Mom. You used her pain. The cemetery is completely silent except for Richard's voice. No birds, no wind, just my husband confessing to his dead mother while I hide 15 feet away. $500,000. That's what you paid Isabella to disappear, to leave her baby at the hospital with a note addressed to me, to vanish back to Italy and never contact us again. And then you created that elaborate story about the woman I'd had an affair with dying in childbirth, leaving an orphan. You knew Vivian would say yes. She was so desperate to prove herself to you, to prove she could be a mother. My mind is racing backward through 27 years. September 1997. Richard coming home, looking destroyed. Eleanor with him, dressed in black, her Chanel perfume filling our living room. The story about the affair, the dead woman, the orphaned baby. Me, so consumed by my own failure to conceive, agreeing to adopt without asking enough questions. Nathaniel arriving 3 days later. Nathaniel, my son, my beautiful boy with his dark eyes and black hair and olive skin that everyone always commented on. So different from Richard's blue eyes and blonde hair. So different from me. He's 27 now, Mom. 27 years I've watched him grow up knowing he was my biological son, but never being able to tell him the truth, never being able to tell Vivian. You made me swear. You said if I ever told, you'd disinherit me, expose everything, destroy our family, and I was too much of a coward to risk it. Richard is sobbing now, full body shaking sobs that I've never witnessed. When Sophie was born 2 years later, naturally, biologically ours, the difference was so obvious. Everyone could see it. The blonde hair, blue eyes, pale skin. Everything Nathaniel wasn't. And every time someone mentioned it, every time Nathaniel asked why he looked so different, I had to lie. God, Mom, do you know what that does to a person? To look your son in the eyes and lie about who he is? I think I'm going to be sick. The ground is tilting beneath me. Nathaniel, my Nathaniel. The baby I held, nursed, raised, loved with every fiber of my being, not adopted, biologically Richard's. The product of an affair and a cover-up orchestrated by Eleanor using my desperation against me. Isabella is alive, Mom. Did you know that? I hired a private investigator 5 years ago after you had that first stroke. I thought maybe if you died, I could finally tell the truth. She's living in Rome, working as a translator, never married, no other children. She searches for Nathaniel's name online sometimes. My investigator found her search history. She thinks about him, the son she was paid to abandon. Richard's voice drops to a whisper, but I can still hear every word. Nathaniel sent his DNA to 23andMe 3 weeks ago. Did you know that before you died? Is that why you looked so scared in the hospital? The results will come any day now. He's going to find out that Vivian isn't his biological mother. He's going to find Italian relatives who will lead him straight to Isabella, and everything is going to explode. My breath is coming in short gasps. I press my hand over my mouth to keep from making any sound. 3 weeks ago. Nathaniel mentioned it at Sunday dinner, said he was curious about his ancestry, wanted to know more about his genetic background. Eleanor had gone pale. She'd excused herself from the table, said she wasn't feeling well. She died 4 days later. I don't know what to do, Mom. I don't know how to tell Vivian that our entire marriage has been built on this lie. That every time she looks at Nathaniel and feels that something is different, she's right. That you manipulated her in the most vulnerable moment of her life. That I let you do it because I was too weak to face the consequences of my own actions. Richard stands up. He wipes his face with his hands, leaving streaks of dirt across his cheeks. I thought I'd feel better after you died. I thought I'd finally be free to tell the truth. But I'm not, am I? Because telling the truth now destroys everything. It destroys Vivian's trust in me. It destroys Nathaniel's sense of who he is. It destroys our family. And for what? To ease my conscience? To clear the guilt I've carried for 27 years? He laughs, but it's bitter and broken. You win, Mom. Even dead, you win. Because I'm still too much of a coward to tell them the truth. I'll wait for those DNA results to arrive, and when they do, I'll act surprised. I'll be there to help Nathaniel process this shocking discovery. I'll comfort Vivian when she realizes she was lied to. And I'll never tell them that I knew all along, that I was part of the deception from the very beginning. Richard turns to walk away. I need to stay hidden. I need time to process this before confronting him. But my knee shifts, and a small stone skitters across the ground. The sound is tiny, barely audible, but Richard freezes. Who's there? His voice is sharp now, alarmed. Is someone there? I hold my breath. Stay still. He can't find me like this, muddy and hiding and having heard everything. He takes a few steps in my direction. My heart is hammering so hard, I'm sure he can hear it. Hello? He's closer now. This is private property. The cemetery is closed. I press myself flatter against the mausoleum. If he comes around the corner, he'll see me. There's nowhere to hide. I'm trapped by my own decision to stay, to listen, to bear witness to this confession never meant for my ears. But then his phone rings. The sound cuts through the silence. I hear him answer. Yes, I'm on my way. Just needed a few more minutes. I'll be there in 20. His footsteps move away. I hear the crunch of gravel as he walks back toward the parking area where his car is waiting. I wait until I hear the engine start, until I hear him drive away. Only then do I let myself breathe. I sit down on the ground, not caring anymore about the mud or the cold or my expensive coat. My entire body is shaking. 28 years of marriage, 27 years of motherhood, all of it built on a foundation of lies. The worst part isn't Richard's affair. I'm 56 years old, and I understand that long marriages are complicated, that people make mistakes, that sexuality and fidelity are more nuanced than I believed at 28. The worst part is the manipulation. Eleanor using my desperation to solve her son's problem, transforming me into an unwitting accomplice in covering up Richard's infidelity by making me the grateful adoptive mother of his illegitimate child. Every family photo, every birthday party, every Christmas morning, Nathaniel opening presents, calling me mom, telling me he loved me, and Richard watching, knowing the truth, carrying this massive secret while I loved that boy with everything I had. I think about Nathaniel now, 27 years old, working as a financial analyst in Boston. He called me last week, like he does every week, told me about a girl he's dating, asked for advice about whether he should introduce her to the family. My beautiful boy, who has my mannerisms, my work ethic, my sense of humor, but none of my genetics. Who has always wondered why he looks so different. Who has sometimes asked, in moments of teenage confusion, if he was really mine. And I told him, of course, he was mine. Biology doesn't matter. Love is what makes a family. I believed that. I still want to believe that. But the lie beneath it changes everything. I finally stand up. My legs are stiff from crouching for so long. I look down at Eleanor's grave. Fresh earth. Expensive casket underneath. All her money, all her social status, all her carefully maintained appearances. And what did it get her? A son who was too terrified of her to live honestly. A daughter-in-law she never respected. 2 grandchildren, one of whom she treated differently because of secret knowledge none of us were supposed to know. You cruel woman, I say out loud. My voice sounds strange in the empty cemetery. You cruel, manipulative woman. You died knowing that DNA test would expose everything, didn't you? You knew your control was about to end. Is that why you left those diaries? One final way to maintain power even after death? The diaries. Richard mentioned them at the funeral reception. Eleanor's lawyer had pulled him aside. Something about a sealed box that could only be opened in front of all the principal heirs. Me, Richard, Nathaniel, Sophie. Reading of the will scheduled for next week. I feel cold realization settling over me. Eleanor documented everything. Of course she did. She was meticulous, controlling, obsessed with maintaining her narrative. Those diaries probably contain the entire story. Names, dates, bank transfers, every detail of how she orchestrated this deception. She's going to destroy our family from beyond the grave. Not out of guilt or desire for truth, but because even in death, Eleanor Ashford needs to control the narrative. She wants her version of events recorded, her justifications, her reasoning for why manipulating her desperate daughter-in-law was actually the noble thing to do. I walk to my car. It's a Mercedes S-Class, silver, worth more than the entire annual salary I made in my first job out of college. I've built a fortune. 56 years old, director of investments at a private equity firm, personal net worth around $12 million. I'm wearing a coat that costs $3,000, carrying a purse worth $5,000, wearing shoes that are $800. I'm successful by every metric society uses to measure such things. And none of it matters, because my marriage is a lie, and my son is about to find out his mother isn't really his mother. And I don't know which hurts more, the betrayal or the impending loss, or the realization that I somehow always knew something was wrong, but never let myself look too closely. I sit in the driver's seat, but don't start the engine. I need to think. I need to plan. Richard doesn't know I was there. He doesn't know I heard everything. That gives me power, information, time. The DNA results will arrive in the next few days. The will reading is next Tuesday. I have a week, maybe less, before everything explodes. Do I confront Richard now? Do I tell him I know? Or do I wait, watch, see how he handles this? Do I prepare Nathaniel somehow, or do I let him discover the truth without warning? Do I protect Sophie from this? Or does she deserve to know that her grandmother was a manipulative monster who orchestrated family trauma for the sake of appearances? I pull out my phone. I have an investigator on retainer, someone I use for due diligence on investment opportunities. Discreet, thorough, fast. I type out a message. Need complete background on Isabella Romano, approximately 54 years old, Italian, worked as legal assistant in New York in 1996, 1997, currently believed to be in Rome working as translator. Need everything. Employment history, financial records, current address, social media, connections. And I need all bank records for Eleanor Ashford, specifically August through October 1997. 24-hour turnaround. Price is not a concern. I hit send. My hands are steady now. The shock is wearing off, replaced by something colder and more focused. This is what I do. I analyze situations. I gather data. I make calculated decisions based on complete information. Richard confessed to his dead mother because he thought no one was listening. But I was listening. And now I have information he doesn't know I have. The question is what I do with it. I start the car and drive toward Manhattan. The city rises ahead of me, familiar and solid. I've lived here for 30 years, built my career here, raised my children here, created a life that looked perfect from the outside, and underneath it all a lie so massive that I'm only now beginning to understand its full dimensions. My phone buzzes. Sophie, asking where I am, if I'm okay, why I didn't ride back with them. I text back that I needed some time alone, that I'll be home soon. She responds with a heart emoji. My daughter, 23 years old, studying for her master's degree in London, blonde and blue-eyed and biologically undeniably mine. Will she look at her brother differently when she finds out? Will it change how she sees our family? Another text. This one from Nathaniel. Mom, are you all right? Dad said you wanted to stay at the cemetery for a while. Call me when you can. Mom. He calls me Mom. Has called me Mom for 27 years. Will he still call me that when he finds out the truth? Or will I become Vivian, the woman who raised him, the woman his father's mother manipulated into loving a child she didn't know was her husband's biological son? I realize I'm crying, not sobbing like Richard was at the grave, but quiet tears running down my face. I pull over into a parking spot. I can't drive like this. I sit there with the engine running, the heat on, crying for the first time since Eleanor died. No, that's not true. The first time since, long before Eleanor died. I don't cry easily. I learned early in my career that tears are weakness in the investment world, that showing emotion loses you respect and costs you deals. But right now, parked on a street corner in Connecticut, I let myself feel it all. The betrayal, the manipulation, the fear of what comes next, the grief for the family I thought I had, the uncertainty about who I actually am if the foundational story of my life as Nathaniel's mother turns out to be built on deception. My phone rings. It's Richard. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listen to the message. Vivian, it's me. Just wanted to check that you're okay. I know today was difficult. Eleanor was hard on you over the years, and I'm sorry I didn't protect you from that better. I love you. Come home when you're ready. I'll make sure there's dinner waiting. The concern in his voice sounds genuine. The apology sounds sincere. And that makes it worse, because he's not a monster. He's a man who made a terrible decision 27 years ago and has been trapped by it ever since. Eleanor was the monster. But Richard was the coward who enabled her. And I'm the fool who never asked enough questions because I was too desperate to become a mother. I delete the voicemail and drive home. I need to go back. Back to 1997, when I was 28 years old and desperate in ways I can barely remember now. Back to before Nathaniel, before the lie became so embedded in our lives that it felt like truth. Richard and I got married in June of 1997. I was a vice president at Steinberg Capital, one of the few women to reach that level before 30. I'd worked 80-hour weeks for 6 years, made my bosses millions, and earned respect in a world that didn't give it easily to women like me. Women whose parents were college professors, who grew up in modest homes in New Jersey, who didn't have trust funds or country club memberships or connections that opened doors. Richard was different. Exeter Academy, Yale undergraduate, Yale Law. His father had been a banker, his grandfather before him. Eleanor's family owned textile mills in the 19th century. Old money. The kind that whispers instead of shouts, that knows which fork to use without thinking, that judges everyone who doesn't. I met Richard at a fundraiser. He was 34, already a rising star at Crawford and Hayes. Handsome in that effortless way some men have, like they were born wearing suits. He asked me about my work, actually listened to my answers, didn't try to explain finance to me like most men did. We dated for 8 months. He proposed on New Year's Eve at the top of the Rainbow Room. Eleanor hated me from the first meeting. Oh, she was polite. Eleanor was always polite. But her eyes were cold when she looked at me, assessing and finding me wanting. How lovely that you've done so well for yourself, dear. Richard has always admired ambitious women. The way she said ambitious made it sound like a character flaw. Richard told me not to worry about it. She's protective. She'll warm up once she gets to know you. But she never did. Every family dinner was a minefield. Comments about my clothes being quite bold, my manners being so refreshingly casual, my career being certainly consuming. She never said anything overtly rude. That wasn't Eleanor's style. She was surgical with her disapproval, death by 1,000 paper cuts. We started trying to get pregnant on our honeymoon. Richard wanted children right away, and I did too. I thought maybe a baby would soften Eleanor, give her a grandchild to dote on, shift her focus away from criticizing me. Month after month, nothing happened. My period would arrive like clockwork, and each time felt like another failure. By the fall of 1997, I was obsessed, tracking ovulation, taking supplements, timing everything perfectly. My doctor said there was no medical reason for the delay, that sometimes it just takes time to relax and let it happen naturally. But Eleanor's comments were getting sharper. It's such a shame when career women wait too long and then find they've missed their window. Biology has its limits, doesn't it? I was 28. I hadn't waited too long. But Eleanor made me feel like I had. Made me feel like my body was broken, like I was failing at the one thing that really mattered to her. Richard tried to be supportive, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes every month. His mother's expectations were crushing both of us. Then came that night in September. I was working late, as usual. Around 9 o'clock, Richard called. His voice sounded strange, tight, and careful. I need to come home. Can you be there in an hour? I left the office immediately. Something was wrong. When I walked into our apartment, Eleanor was there. That was the first shock. She never came to our place in the city. She considered it too small, too modern, not befitting the Ashford name. But there she sat on our sofa, ramrod straight in a black St. John suit, her signature Chanel perfume filling the room. Richard looked destroyed. His eyes were red, his tie loosened, his usually perfect posture collapsed. Eleanor's face was unreadable, that cold mask she wore so well. "Vivienne, sit down," Eleanor said. Not Richard. Eleanor. taking control of the conversation in my own home. I sat. My heart was pounding. Had something happened to Richard's father? Was someone ill? "Richard needs to tell you something," Eleanor continued. "Something difficult. But I want you to understand before he speaks that there is a solution, a way forward that can benefit everyone involved." Richard couldn't look at me. He stared at his hands and started talking. The story came out in broken pieces. An affair, 6 months long. A woman named Isabella, who worked at his firm as a legal assistant. It had ended 3 months ago, right after our wedding. He swore he ended it, that he'd made a terrible mistake, that he loved me. I felt numb. We'd been married for 3 months. The affair overlapped with our engagement, our wedding planning, probably our actual wedding. While I was choosing flowers and cake and worrying about whether Eleanor approved of the venue, Richard was sleeping with someone else. But that wasn't the worst part. Isabella was pregnant, 6 months pregnant. She'd hidden it until she couldn't anymore, then came to Richard 2 weeks ago. She was terrified. She was in the country illegally, overstayed her visa, had no money, no family in America. She didn't know what to do. "And now she's gone," Eleanor said crisply. "I've handled it. The girl has returned to Italy with enough money to ensure she never contacts us again." I remember staring at her. "What do you mean, handled it?" "The baby will be left at Lenox Hill Hospital when it's born, in approximately 3 months, with a note addressed to Richard. The mother's name will not be included. She will disappear completely. No one will ever know about Richard's indiscretion." My mind was reeling. "You paid her to abandon her baby?" "I provided a solution that serves everyone's interests," Eleanor corrected. "The girl receives financial security. We avoid a scandal. And you, my dear, receive an opportunity." That's when she laid it out. The cover-up story. Richard had a brief affair with a woman who tragically died in childbirth. The woman had no family, no one to claim the child. Richard felt responsible. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we adopted the orphaned baby? Gave a child a loving home? It would solve so many problems at once. I should have said no. I should have walked out right then, filed for divorce, never looked back. But Eleanor knew exactly which buttons to push. "I know how desperately you want a child, Vivian. I know the struggles you've been having. This baby needs a mother, and you need a baby. Richard needs to take responsibility for his actions. It's really quite perfect when you think about it rationally." Rationally, as if any of it was rational. But I was 28 and desperate and so tired of failing every month. So tired of Eleanor's pointed comments about my empty womb. So tired of feeling inadequate. "The baby is a boy," Eleanor added. "Healthy, according to the girl's medical records. He'll be born in late November, early December. You could have him home for Christmas. A fresh start for all of us." Richard finally spoke. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I've destroyed your trust. But Vivian, if you can find it in your heart to give me another chance, to give this innocent child a home, I swear I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you." He was crying. Richard, who never cried, had tears streaming down his face. And I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something like it. A calculation. I could leave him, start over, spend years finding someone else and hoping to get pregnant. Or I could stay, accept this bizarre solution, and become a mother by Christmas. Eleanor sealed it. "I'll establish a trust fund for the child, $2 million, accessible when he turns 25. He'll want for nothing. And Vivian, dear, I know we've had our differences, but I would very much like to see you succeed as a mother. This could be a new beginning for all of us." It was the closest Eleanor had ever come to approval. The carrot after years of stick. And God help me, I wanted that approval almost as much as I wanted a child. So I said yes. I agreed to the insane plan. I would adopt Richard's illegitimate child and pretend it was a noble act of charity rather than an elaborate cover-up of his infidelity and his mother's manipulation. Nathaniel was born on December 3rd, 1997. Isabella left him at the hospital exactly as Eleanor had arranged. A nurse called Richard, who called me. We went together to meet our son. When they placed him in my arms, this tiny, perfect human with a shock of black hair and huge, dark eyes, something in me cracked open. I fell in love instantly, completely, irrevocably. It didn't matter how he came to me. It didn't matter about Richard's affair or Eleanor's machinations. This baby was mine. I would protect him, love him, give him everything. He would never know about the complicated circumstances of his arrival. He would just know that he was wanted, loved, cherished. Richard seemed relieved that I bonded with Nathaniel so quickly. Eleanor was satisfied that her problem was solved, and I threw myself into motherhood with the same intensity I'd thrown into my career. I was determined to be perfect at this, to prove Eleanor wrong about me, to prove to myself that I could succeed at something beyond making money. 2 years later, Sophie was born. A surprise, actually. After all the struggles to conceive, suddenly I was pregnant naturally. She came early, in April of 1999. The moment I saw her blonde hair and blue eyes, so clearly Richard's daughter, I understood for the first time how different Nathaniel looked, how his olive skin and dark features stood out in our pale family. But I pushed those thoughts away. Love makes a family, not genetics. I believed that. I had to believe that. Nathaniel was mine in every way that mattered. The fact that he didn't look like me was just one of those quirks of adoption. Some children resemble their adoptive parents through mimicry and environment. Some don't. It was fine. Everything was fine. Except it wasn't. Eleanor's comments continued. Nathaniel has such exotic features, doesn't he? One wonders about his background. Or, Sophie looks so much like you, Richard, a true Ashford. The implication was always there, hanging in the air. Sophie was the real grandchild. Nathaniel was the adopted one, the outsider, the reminder of Richard's mistakes. I overcompensated. I was fiercer in my love for Nathaniel, more protective, more devoted. If anyone made a comment about how different he looked, I shut it down immediately. He was my son. Period. No qualifications, no explanations needed. The years passed. Nathaniel grew into a thoughtful, intelligent, kind young man. He excelled at school, went to Columbia, got his MBA from Wharton. Now he works in finance like I do, and sometimes when we talk about markets and risk analysis, I forget he's not genetically mine because he thinks so much like me. Sophie bloomed too, beautiful, confident, studying international relations in London. Both my children thriving. Our family looking perfect from the outside. And underneath, a lie so massive that I never let myself examine it too closely. Until today. Until I heard Richard confessing to his mother's grave that none of it was what I thought, that the desperate woman who died in childbirth never existed, that Isabella Romano is alive in Rome, that Nathaniel isn't adopted at all, he's Richard's biological son from an affair, that Eleanor paid $500,000 to orchestrate the entire deception, that every assumption I built my motherhood on was false. I pull into our building's garage. The attendant waves. I wave back automatically, maintaining the appearance of normalcy even though everything inside me is screaming. I don't go straight upstairs to our apartment. Instead, I sit in my car in the parking garage, staring at the concrete wall in front of me. My phone buzzes again. Richard asking where I am. I text back that I stopped to pick up something for dinner, that I'll be home in 30 minutes. I need time to think before I face him. The investigator responds within 10 minutes. On it. We'll have preliminary report by morning, complete file within 48 hours. Efficient. That's why I pay him $200 an hour. I force myself to go upstairs. The elevator ride feels endless. When I walk into our apartment, Richard is in the kitchen. He's changed out of his funeral suit into jeans and a sweater. Casual Richard, the version of him that exists only at home. He looks up when I enter, and his face floods with relief. There you are. I was getting worried. He crosses to me, pulls me into a hug. I let him, even though my body feels rigid. His arms around me feel different now, contaminated by knowledge. Are you okay? Today was a lot. I'm fine. My voice sounds almost normal. Just needed some time to process everything. He pulls back, studies my face. Eleanor was hard on you for so many years. I know you two never had an easy relationship. I'm sorry I didn't stand up to her more. I should have protected you better. The apology sounds genuine. It probably is genuine, but it's also grotesquely insufficient given what I now know. I want to scream at him. I want to ask him how he could look at me every single day for 27 years while carrying this massive secret. But I don't. Not yet. I need more information first. She was who she was, I say carefully. No point dwelling on it now that she's gone. Richard nods. He looks tired, older than his 62 years. The lawyer called. Reading of the will is Tuesday at 10. He said something about a sealed box that Eleanor left instructions about. Has to be opened in front of all of us, you, me, and the kids. My stomach clenches. The diaries. Did he say what's in it? No, just that Eleanor was very specific about the procedure. Everyone has to be present. Richard shakes his head. Even in death, she has to maintain control. Typical. There's bitterness in his voice. I wonder if he's afraid of what those diaries might contain. He should be. I'll make sure I'm free Tuesday morning, I say. Have you told Nathaniel and Sophie? Just texted them. Sophie can video call in from London. Nathaniel said he'll drive down from Boston Monday night. Richard opens the refrigerator, pulls out a bottle of wine. Want a glass? I think we've earned it after today. I watch him pour 2 glasses of Bordeaux, a bottle that costs $300. We drink expensive wine like other people drink water. All this money, all this comfort, all this carefully constructed life, and underneath, rot. He hands me a glass. We sit at the kitchen island. This is where we've had 1,000 conversations over the years. Morning coffee before work, late-night debriefings after difficult days, planning vacations, discussing the kids, navigating the small domestic negotiations that make up a marriage. I've been thinking, Richard says slowly, about what happens now. With Eleanor gone, things will be different. Easier, maybe. We can finally live without her judgment hanging over everything. I take a sip of wine to avoid responding immediately. Does he really believe that? Does he think Eleanor's death frees him? He doesn't know about the diaries yet, doesn't know that she's about to expose everything from beyond the grave. Different how? I ask. I don't know. Less tense, maybe. She had such strong opinions about everything. How we raised the kids, where we lived, how you dressed, what I did with my career. Every family dinner was a performance for her benefit. He runs his hand through his hair, a gesture I've seen 1,000,000 times when he's stressed. I feel guilty saying this, but there's relief mixed in with the grief. Does that make me a terrible person? No, I say quietly. It makes you human. We sit in silence for a moment. I'm studying him, this man I've been married to for 28 years, trying to see past the familiar exterior to the coward underneath. Because that's what he is. Not evil, not malicious, just weak. A man who ran to his mother when he got his mistress pregnant, who let that mother orchestrate an elaborate deception, who's been hiding behind lies for nearly 3 decades rather than face the consequences of his choices. My phone buzzes. Email from the investigator. Subject line: Romano, initial findings. My heart starts pounding. I need to read this, but not in front of Richard. I'm going to take a bath, I announce, standing up. Today was exhausting. Of course, I'll order dinner. Ty okay? Perfect. I take my wine and my phone and escape to our bedroom. In the bathroom with the door locked, I open the email. The investigator works fast. There are already attachments. Photos of Isabella Romano, current day. A beautiful woman in her early 50s, dark hair, with some gray, warm brown eyes, laugh lines around her mouth. She's sitting at a cafe in Rome, sunlight on her face, looking relaxed and content. This is the woman whose baby I raised. This is Nathaniel's biological mother. The report includes her employment history. She left New York in August 1997, returned to Italy, worked various translation jobs for the next 15 years before establishing her own small translation agency. Never married. No children on record. Clean financial history, pays her taxes, owns a modest apartment in Trastevere. There's a note from the investigator. Subject performs regular Google searches for Nathaniel Ashford, approximately once every 2 months for the past 10 years. Also searches Richard Ashford and Ashford Family, New York. No attempt at direct contact identified. Appears to be monitoring from distance. She thinks about him. The son she left at a hospital 27 years ago. The son she was paid to abandon. Does she feel guilt, regret? Or does she tell herself she did what was necessary for survival, that he had a better life with us than he would have had with her? The next attachment makes my blood run cold. Bank records for Eleanor Ashford, August through October 1997. There it is. August 15th. Transfer of $500,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. August 20th. Transfer from that same account to an Italian bank. Recipient I. Romano. The paper trail Eleanor probably thought she'd buried. But there's more. A payment of $50,000 to a law firm specializing in immigration cases. Another $20,000 to a private adoption facilitator. Eleanor didn't just pay Isabella to disappear. She paid lawyers to make sure it was all technically legal, to create a paper trail that would withstand scrutiny. The adoption documents for Nathaniel. Everything showing a desperate woman who died in childbirth, anonymous, no family to claim the child. All of it manufactured. I feel sick. The level of premeditation, the cold calculation. This wasn't a panicked cover-up. This was methodical. Eleanor took weeks to set this up, to create a foolproof system, to ensure that her son's mistake could be buried forever. My phone rings. Nathaniel. I take a deep breath before answering, trying to sound normal. Hi, sweetheart. Mom, are you okay? Dad said you needed some time alone after the funeral. His voice is concerned. My beautiful boy, always so attuned to other people's feelings. I'm fine, honey, just processing. It's strange, even when you don't have a good relationship with someone, when they die, it brings up complicated feelings. I know what you mean. Grandmother was never warm, but she was always there, you know? This constant presence. It's weird that she's just gone. Grandmother. He called her grandmother. She was actually his biological grandmother, though he doesn't know it. The only grandparent he had who shared his DNA, and she treated him like a second-class family member his entire life. Are you coming down Monday for the will reading? I ask. Yeah, I'll drive down after work. Should be there by 8 or 9. Is it okay if I stay at the apartment? Of course. Your room is always ready. I pause. Nathaniel, can I ask you something? Sure. Those DNA results from 23andMe. Have they come in yet? There's a brief silence. Actually, yeah. They arrived this morning. I haven't looked at them yet. Been too busy with the funeral and everything. Why? My heart is pounding so hard, I'm amazed he can't hear it through the phone. Just curious. You mentioned you were excited to learn more about your background. I am. I'm going to look at them tonight, actually. It'll be interesting to see the breakdown. I've always wondered about my biological parents, you know, where the dark hair and eyes came from. The results should show ethnic background, maybe connect me with distant relatives. He has no idea he's about to discover that his mother is a woman named Isabella Romano living in Rome. That his father is the man he's called Dad his entire life. That his whole understanding of his identity is about to explode. Let me know what you find out, I say, keeping my voice steady. I'm curious too. After we hang up, I sit on the edge of the bathtub. Tonight. He's going to look at the results tonight, which means by tomorrow morning, Nathaniel will know that I'm not his biological mother. He'll see Italian ancestry, probably a high percentage. He'll see potential relative matches, and if Isabella has any cousins or second cousins who've tested their DNA, he'll find connections that lead straight to her. I have hours, not days. The explosion I thought was coming next week is coming right now. I should tell Richard, warn him, give him a chance to prepare. But I don't. Instead, I run a bath, pour in expensive salts, and sink into water hot enough to hurt. I need to think. The strategic part of my brain, the part that's made me successful in finance, starts analyzing options. I can let Nathaniel discover the truth on his own, act shocked and betrayed alongside him when he tells us. I can confront Richard tonight, force him to confess before Nathaniel calls with questions. I can reach out to Nathaniel first, prepare him somehow. Or I can contact Isabella Romano directly, hear her side of the story before everything unravels. Each option has risks. Each option leads to pain. There's no version of this that doesn't destroy the careful structure of our family. I stay in the bath until the water goes cold. When I come out, Richard has set up dinner in the living room. Thai food from our favorite place, spread out on the coffee table. He's trying to be thoughtful, attentive. If I didn't know what I know, I'd find it sweet. Feel better? He asks. A little. I sit down, pick up chopsticks. The food tastes like nothing. I force myself to eat anyway. I was thinking, Richard says, maybe we should take a trip, once everything settles down with the estate. We haven't had a real vacation in years. What about Tuscany? You always said you wanted to go back. Tuscany, near Rome, where Isabella Romano lives. Is he thinking about her? Does he want to go to Italy because some part of him wants to be closer to the woman he got pregnant 27 years ago? Maybe, I say non-committally. My phone buzzes. Email notification. I glance at it. The investigator again with more information. I set down my food. I need to check this work thing. I go to the bedroom, close the door, open the email. He's found more. Eleanor's diaries weren't just in a sealed box for the lawyer. She kept copies, digital scans stored in a cloud account. The investigator managed to access them. Don't ask me how. I download the files. There are hundreds of pages. Eleanor's neat slanted handwriting scanned into PDFs. I skim through, looking for 1997. Find it. Start reading. August 10th, 1997. Richard came to me today in absolute hysterics. That Italian girl from his office is pregnant. 6 months along and only now telling him. The idiot actually thought about leaving Vivian for her. I set him straight immediately. Ashfords don't divorce. We certainly don't abandon family obligations for temporary infatuations with immigrants. August 12th, 1997. Met with the girl, Isabella Romano. Pretty enough, I suppose, if you like that Mediterranean type. Clever, too. Speaks 3 languages. Under different circumstances, she might have made something of herself. But she's illegal, terrified, and desperate. Perfect leverage. I offered her $500,000 to disappear. She tried to negotiate for more. I respected that, actually. We settled on the original amount plus legal assistance to ensure she wouldn't be deported. August 15th, 1997. Vivian called today, upset again about another failed month of trying to conceive. The girl is pathetic in her desperation for a child. It gave me an idea. Richard needs a solution to his problem. Vivian needs a baby. The timing is almost too perfect to be coincidence. Perhaps some good can come from my son's weakness after all. August 20th, 1997. Everything is arranged. Isabella will leave the baby at Lenox Hill Hospital in early December with a note addressed to Richard. I've created a complete backstory. A woman who died in childbirth, tragic and convenient. Vivian is so desperate to prove herself as a mother that she'll accept this story without digging too deeply. Richard is weak enough to go along with anything I say. The baby will have a good life, better than anything that girl could have provided. Everyone wins. September 15th, 1997. Presented the plan to Richard and Vivian tonight. It went exactly as I predicted. Vivian's desperate gratitude was almost painful to watch. She actually thanked me, as if I were doing this out of kindness rather than necessity. Richard looked relieved, the coward. Neither of them asked enough questions. People see what they want to see. December 3rd, 1997. The baby arrived. A boy, healthy, dark features. He looks nothing like an Ashford, but that can't be helped. Vivian is besotted with him. She's named him Nathaniel after her grandfather. It's common but acceptable. Richard seems genuinely attached to the child. Perhaps his conscience is eased by playing father to his own biological son, even if Vivian doesn't know the truth. I've established the trust fund as promised. $2 million. The boy will want for nothing materially, even if he'll always carry inferior genes. I stop reading. My hands are shaking so badly I nearly drop the phone. Inferior genes. Eleanor wrote that about her own biological grandson. About Nathaniel, who has her son's DNA, who is as much an Ashford as Sophie. I keep reading, skipping ahead through the years. June 2000. Sophie's birth has clarified everything. She is a true Ashford, blonde and blue-eyed and perfect. The contrast with Nathaniel is stark. People will always wonder about him. Let them. As long as the truth stays buried, it doesn't matter. April 2005. Nathaniel asked Vivian today why he looks different from the rest of the family. The boy is perceptive. Vivian gave him the standard adoption speech about love making a family. He seemed satisfied. How long will that last? Teenagers ask harder questions. November 2015. I had my lawyer draw up new instructions for my will. When I die, the truth should come out. Not immediately, but through the diaries. I want my version of events on record. I want them to understand that I did what was necessary to protect this family. Richard was weak. Vivian was desperate. I was the only one strong enough to make hard decisions. They should be grateful, not resentful. October 2025. Nathaniel mentioned at dinner that he's planning to do one of those DNA tests. I felt my heart stop. Richard went pale. The boy is 27 years old, curious about his origins. How do we stop this without raising suspicion? Perhaps we can't. Perhaps it's time for the truth to emerge. I'm 87 years old. I've held this family together through sheer force of will for decades. If it falls apart after I'm gone, so be it. At least they'll know everything I did was for the Ashford name. The entries stop in early November. Eleanor died 3 weeks later. The DNA test she feared was already in motion. Did she die knowing that Nathaniel was about to discover everything? Is that why she looked so frightened in the hospital? I hear Richard moving around in the living room. Normal domestic sounds. He's probably cleaning up the dinner dishes, maybe pouring another glass of wine, living his life as if it's not all about to detonate. My phone rings. It's Nathaniel. My heart lurches. Mom? His voice sounds strange, tight. Can you talk? Of course. What's wrong? I looked at my DNA results, and, Mom, something doesn't make sense. It says I'm 50% Italian, like Tuscan and Roman Italian. And there are all these relative matches showing up, cousins I've never heard of, people with the last name Romano. I close my eyes. Here it is, the moment everything changes. The thing is, Nathaniel continues, my biological parents were supposed to be American, right? That's what I always thought. That story about Dad's affair with someone who died in childbirth. But these results are showing I'm half Italian, which means either my mother or my father was Italian. And there are these Romano relatives, and I Googled the name, and Mom, I found a woman. Isabella Romano. She's 54, Lives in Rome, used to work in New York in the 90s, as a legal assistant, at Dad's firm. I can hear my own heartbeat in my ears. The silence on the phone stretches too long. Nathaniel is waiting for me to say something, to explain, to tell him his theory is crazy. But I can't lie to him anymore. Nathaniel, I say slowly, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Where are you right now? I'm at my apartment. Mom, what's going on? Did you know about this? Is Isabella Romano my biological mother? My mouth is dry. This is the moment. I can keep lying, act shocked, pretend I just found out too. Or I can tell him the truth. Not all of it, not yet, but enough. Enough to prepare him for what's coming. I found out today, I say quietly, at the cemetery. I overheard your father talking. Nathaniel, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. For 27 years I thought the story we told you was true. I thought your biological mother had died, but she didn't. Your father lied to me, too. I hear him breathing on the other end. Sharp, quick breaths. He's trying not to cry. So Dad knew the whole time? He knew I was his biological son and never told me? Never told you? His voice cracks. What kind of person does that? A scared one, I say, and I'm surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Your father made a mistake 27 years ago. He had an affair with Isabella Romano. She got pregnant. Your grandmother found out and paid her to disappear. She gave Isabella $500,000 to leave you at the hospital and go back to Italy. Then she convinced your father and me to raise you as our adopted son. Grandmother did this? Nathaniel sounds stunned. She orchestrated the whole thing? Yes. And your father went along with it because he was too much of a coward to tell the truth. And I went along with it because I was desperate to be a mother and I didn't ask enough questions. The words are tumbling out now, raw and honest. But Nathaniel, I need you to hear this. I loved you from the moment they put you in my arms. I love you now. The fact that you're biologically your father's son doesn't change anything about how I feel about you. You are my son. You will always be my son. But you're not my biological mother. His voice is flat now, shock settling in. Sophie is your biological daughter. I'm just the product of Dad's affair that you agreed to raise. Don't say it like that, please. I'm crying now, tears running down my face. You were never just anything. You were wanted. You were loved. Yes, the circumstances of how you came to us were complicated and wrong, but my love for you has never been complicated. It's the simplest, truest thing in my life. Does Sophie know? No. No one knows except me, your father, and now you. Your grandmother took the secret to her grave. Or she tried to. She left diaries. They're being read at the will reading on Tuesday. So in 3 days, everyone is going to know that I'm Dad's bastard son and you're not really my mother. The bitterness in his voice cuts through me. I am really your mother, I insist. Biology doesn't determine that. 27 years of loving you, raising you, being there for every moment of your life, that's what makes me your mother. Then what does that make Isabella Romano? He asks. The woman whose DNA I carry? Who gave birth to me? Who thinks about me, apparently, because I can see in these DNA results that she searched for me. There are connection requests from people who know her. People saying they've been trying to reach me on her behalf. My stomach drops. What do you mean, connection requests? On the DNA site, there are messages from people who say they're Isabella's cousins, saying she's been looking for me for years, asking if I want to make contact. He pauses. I want to talk to her, Mom. I need to hear her side of this. Panic floods through me. Nathaniel, wait. Please, let's think this through. There's so much we don't know yet. Let me talk to your father first. Let's get through the will reading. Then you can decide what you want to do about Isabella. Why should I wait? So you and Dad can come up with another story? Another version of events that keeps me in the dark? His anger is sharp now, cutting through the shock. I'm 27 years old. I have a right to know where I came from, who I am. You know who you are, I say desperately. You're Nathaniel Ashford. You're brilliant and kind and ambitious. You're a financial analyst who makes his mother proud every single day. You're Sophie's brother. You're my son. That hasn't changed. Everything has changed. His voice breaks. My entire life is built on a lie. Every time I looked in the mirror and wondered why I didn't look like anyone in my family, I was right to wonder. Every time people made comments about my dark hair or olive skin, they were seeing the truth that everyone hid from me. I've been living in a story that everyone else knew was false. I don't know what to say to that, because he's right. We did lie to him. For his entire conscious life, we lied. I'm coming home tomorrow, Nathaniel says. Not Monday. Tomorrow, I'm going to confront Dad face to face, and then I'm going to decide what I want to do about Isabella Romano. You can either support me or not, but I'm done being managed. Of course I support you, Nathaniel. I love you. I know you do, he says, and his voice softens slightly. That's the only thing I'm sure of right now. That you love me. But I need time to process this, Mom. I need to figure out who I actually am without the lies. He hangs up. I sit there holding my phone, tears streaming down my face. My son. My beautiful boy. 27 years of love, and it's not enough to shield him from this pain. I should tell Richard. Warn him that Nathaniel knows that he's coming home tomorrow, that the confrontation is happening ahead of schedule. But I'm so angry at Richard right now that I can barely breathe. He did this. His cowardice, his weakness, his willingness to let his mother manipulate all of us. This is his fault. I stand up, walk to the bedroom door, open it. Richard is on the couch reading something on his iPad, glass of wine beside him. He looks up when he hears me. Everything okay? He asks. I look at my husband, the man I've shared a life with for 28 years, the man who's lied to me every single day for 27 of those years, the man who let his mother use my desperation against me, the man who watched me love his biological son and never once had the courage to tell me the truth. No, I say. Nothing is okay. Nathaniel got his DNA results. He knows about Isabella Romano. He's coming here tomorrow to confront you. And you're going to tell him everything, Richard, every single detail. No more lies, no more protection from your dead mother. You're going to face what you've done. The color drains from Richard's face. His iPad slips from his hands onto the couch. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. You have until tomorrow to decide what you're going to say to him, I continue. But know this. If you lie to him again, if you try to minimize or excuse what you did, I will divorce you. I will take half of everything we've built, and I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you are. Do you understand me? Richard nods. He looks like he might throw up. Good, I say. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Don't try to talk to me. I can't look at you right now. I walk away, leaving him sitting there with his shock and his fear and the consequences he's spent 27 years running from. I don't sleep. I lie in the guest room bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift as cars pass on the street below. Every time I close my eyes, I see Nathaniel's face. The confusion in his expression when he was a teenager asking why he looked different. The pride when he graduated from Columbia. The joy last Christmas when he told us about his promotion. All those moments now colored by knowledge that we were lying to him the entire time. Around 6 a.m, I hear Richard moving around the apartment. The coffee maker starting, the shower running. Normal morning sounds that feel obscene given what's coming today. I get up, shower in the guest bathroom, dress carefully. Black pants, cream silk blouse, minimal jewelry, armor for battle disguised as professional attire. When I walk into the kitchen, Richard is sitting at the island with coffee, still in his pajamas. He looks like he hasn't slept either. His eyes are red-rimmed, his hair uncombed. He looks old and defeated. "Vivian," he starts. "Don't." I pour myself coffee. "Save it for Nathaniel. He deserves to hear it first. I never meant for any of this to happen. You have to believe that." I turn to face him. "What exactly did you never mean to happen, Richard? The affair? Getting Isabella pregnant? Letting your mother pay her off? Lying to me for 27 years? Watching me love Nathaniel while knowing the truth? Which part didn't you mean?" He flinches. "All of it. I was weak. I made a terrible decision, and then I kept making worse decisions to cover up the first one. I know there's no excuse." "You're right. There isn't." I sit down across from him. "Did you ever love her? Isabella?" The question seems to surprise him. "I don't know. I thought I did at the time. She was different from you, softer, less driven. Being with her felt like an escape from all the pressure. My mother's expectations, your ambition, the weight of the Ashford name. With Isabella, I could just be Richard. Not Richard Ashford, heir to the legacy. Just a man. And me? What was I to you? My wife, my partner, the person I respected most in the world." He looks at me directly now. "I loved you, Vivian. I still love you. What I felt for Isabella was infatuation, escape, weakness. What I feel for you is real. But not honest," I say quietly. "For 27 years, not honest." He doesn't argue, can't argue. We sit in silence, drinking coffee, waiting. Nathaniel texted me at 5 a.m. that he was leaving Boston. He should be here within the hour, depending on traffic. My phone buzzes. Email from the investigator with the final comprehensive report. I open it while Richard watches nervously. There are hundreds of pages. Isabella's complete life history, employment records, financial documents, social media accounts, photos spanning decades, and there, at the end, a section titled Recent Activity. Isabella has been more than just passively searching. 6 months ago, she hired her own investigator. She has current photos of Nathaniel, pictures taken from a distance, him leaving his office in Boston, sitting at a coffee shop, walking through the common. She's been watching him, not approaching, not making contact, but watching, making sure he's okay, making sure the son she gave up is thriving. There are also drafts of emails she never sent, dozens of them saved in her personal account, all addressed to Nathaniel, years' worth of unsent messages. "Dear Nathaniel, today is your 18th birthday. I wonder if you know that you share a birthday with Michelangelo. I wonder what you look like now, if you still have the dark eyes you had as a baby, if you're tall like your father. Dear Nathaniel, I saw your graduation announcement online. Columbia University. I'm so proud of you, though I have no right to be. Your mother, the woman who raised you, she must be extraordinary. Dear Nathaniel, I'm sorry. I've written that 1,000 times, and it never feels adequate. I'm sorry I left you. I'm sorry I took the money. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to fight for you. I tell myself I did it so you could have a better life, but maybe I'm just a coward who took the easy way out." I push the phone away. I can't read anymore. This woman, this Isabella Romano, she's not a villain. She's a human being who made an impossible choice at 26 years old, alone and terrified in a foreign country. Eleanor was the villain. Richard was the coward. Isabella was just trying to survive. "What is it?" Richard asks. "Isabella has been watching Nathaniel from a distance for years. She has photos of him, unsent letters." I look at him. "She never forgot about him, Richard. She thinks about him constantly. She's been monitoring his life, making sure he's okay, even though she can't be part of it." Richard's face crumples. God, I never thought about what this did to her. I was so focused on covering it up, on protecting myself, that I never considered that she might actually love him, might regret giving him up. "Of course she regrets it," I snap. She gave up her child, even if it was the practical decision, even if it gave him a better life. That doesn't mean it didn't destroy her. The apartment buzzer sounds. We both freeze. Richard stands up slowly, presses the intercom. "It's me." Nathaniel's voice, tight and controlled. "Come up," Richard says. The next few minutes feel endless. Richard disappears to change clothes. I stay in the kitchen, gripping my coffee mug. I hear the elevator, footsteps in the hallway, the key in the lock. Nathaniel still has his key. He's always had his key. This is his home. Will it still feel like home after today? The door opens. Nathaniel walks in. He's wearing jeans and a Columbia sweatshirt, his hair disheveled from the drive. He looks young and hurt and angry all at once. When his eyes meet mine, something in my chest cracks. "Mom," he says, and I hear the question in it. Am I still Mom? Do I still get to be called that? "Always," I tell him. "No matter what else changes, always." He nods, sets down his overnight bag. Richard emerges from the bedroom, now dressed in slacks and a button-down shirt. Father and son face each other across the living room. The physical resemblance is obvious now that I'm looking for it. Same height, same build, same way of holding tension in their shoulders. "Nathaniel," Richard begins. "Don't." Nathaniel holds up his hand. "Don't start with apologies or excuses. Just tell me the truth, all of it, from the beginning. Who is Isabella Romano, and why did you lie about her for my entire life?" Richard sits down heavily on the couch. I stay in the kitchen, witnessing but not participating. This conversation needs to be between them. "I met Isabella in 1996, Richard starts. "She was a legal assistant at my firm, 26 years old from Tuscany in the U.S. on a work visa. She was beautiful and kind and completely different from the world I came from. We started an affair in January of 1997. It lasted 6 months. "You were married to Mom," Nathaniel says flatly. "Yes, I was married. It was wrong. I have no excuse for it except that I was unhappy and weak, and Isabella made me feel like someone other than Eleanor Ashford's disappointing son." Richard's voice is steady now, like he's testifying in court. Facts without emotion. "In June, Isabella told me she was pregnant, 3 months along. She'd hidden it because she was terrified. Her visa was about to expire. She had no family in America, no money. She didn't know what to do." "And you ran to grandmother," Nathaniel says. "I did. I panicked. I told my mother everything, and she, being Eleanor, saw a problem that needed solving." Richard looks at his hands. "Your mother and I had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years by that point. She was desperate. Every failed month destroyed her a little more. My mother saw an opportunity. She paid Isabella $500,000 to go back to Italy, to leave you at Lenox Hill Hospital when you were born, to disappear completely from our lives. And then she convinced Mom to adopt me by lying about Isabella being dead." Nathaniel's voice is cold. "She used Mom's desperation to cover up your affair and your illegitimate child." "Yes." Richard finally looks up. "I let her do it. I stood there and watched my mother manipulate Vivian in her most vulnerable moment, and I said nothing. I let you be brought home. I let Vivian fall in love with you. I watched you grow up calling her Mom, and I never told either of you the truth." "Why?" Nathaniel's voice cracks. "Why lie for so long? I'm not a child anymore." "I haven't been a child for years. You could have told me at any point." "My mother threatened to disinherit me if I ever told, to expose everything publicly, to destroy my career, to tear apart the family. And I was too much of a coward to call her bluff. I told myself I was protecting you, protecting your mother, protecting Sophie. But really, I was protecting myself." Nathaniel turns to me. "Did you know any of this? Before yesterday?" "No." The word comes out fierce. "I swear to you, Nathaniel, I believed the story about Isabella dying in childbirth. I thought you were the orphaned son of your father's affair, not his biological child that we were pretending to adopt. I had no idea she was alive. No idea that your grandmother orchestrated this entire deception. I found out yesterday at the cemetery. I overheard your father confessing to Eleanor's grave." "You overheard him?" Nathaniel looks between us. "You were hiding at the cemetery?" "I couldn't leave after the funeral. Something felt wrong, unfinished. So I stayed, and your father came back alone and told his dead mother everything." I set down my coffee mug. "That's when I learned that my entire understanding of your existence was a lie, that the desperate woman who died in childbirth never existed, that Isabella Romano is alive in Rome, that Eleanor paid her off, that your father has been lying to me for 27 years. Nathaniel sinks into a chair. He looks overwhelmed, processing too much information too fast. "Isabella is alive, in Rome. She thinks about me. She's been searching for me online." "She has," I confirm. "I hired an investigator. Isabella never forgot you, Nathaniel. She monitors your life from a distance. She has photos of you. She writes you letters she never sends. She gave you up because she was young and scared and saw no other option, but she's never stopped being your mother in her heart." "Then I have two mothers," Nathaniel says slowly. "One who raised me, and one who gave birth to me. And neither of you knew the whole truth until now." "That's right," I say softly. "And Sophie? Does she know any of this?" "Not yet," Richard says. "She will. On Tuesday, at the will reading, my mother left diaries, detailed accounts of everything. She documented the entire cover-up, every payment, every decision. She wanted her version of events on record after she died." Nathaniel laughs, but it's bitter. "Of course she did. Even dead grandmother has to control the narrative, has to make sure everyone knows she was the one pulling the strings." He stands up abruptly. "I need air. I can't be in this apartment right now." "Nathaniel, please." Richard starts to stand. "No, I need space. I need to think." Nathaniel heads for the door, then turns back. He looks at me. "Mom? The one who raised me? I'm not angry at you. I know you were lied to, just like I was. But I need time to process all of this, to figure out who I am now that I know the truth." "Take all the time you need," I tell him. "I'm here whenever you're ready. I love you." "I know," he says. And then he's gone. The door closes behind him. Richard and I sit in the silence he left behind. Finally, Richard speaks. "What do we do now?" "You don't get to ask me that," I say coldly. "You don't get to involve me in decisions anymore. You lost that right when you lied to me for 27 years. Vivian, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but we need to figure out how to handle this as a family." "We're not a family right now," I tell him. "We're people connected by lies trying to figure out what's real." Nathaniel needs to decide if he wants to contact Isabella. Sophie needs to be told before the will reading, and I need to decide if I can ever trust you again. "Can you?" His voice is small, pleading. "Is there any chance you can forgive me?" I look at him, really look at him. This man who I've loved for 28 years. This man who gave me Nathaniel and Sophie. This man who also robbed me of the truth about my own son's existence for nearly 3 decades. "I don't know," I say honestly. "Right now, I can barely stand to be in the same room as you. But I do know this. We're going to get through the will reading on Tuesday. We're going to support Nathaniel through whatever he decides about Isabella. We're going to tell Sophie the truth together, as her parents. And then, after all of that, I'll decide what I want to do about our marriage." "That's fair," Richard says quietly. "No, it's not," I correct him. "Nothing about this is fair, but it's what's happening." My phone buzzes. Text from Nathaniel. "I'm going to reach out to Isabella. I need to hear her side of this. I hope you understand." I text back immediately. "I understand. I support you, whatever you need." He responds with a single heart emoji. It's not much, but it's something. He's hurt and confused and angry, but he still loves me. That has to be enough for now. I show the text to Richard. He reads it and closes his eyes, pain clear on his face. Our son is about to meet his biological mother, he says. The woman I got pregnant and then paid to disappear. God, Vivian, what have I done to this family? You didn't do this alone, I remind him. Eleanor did this. You were just weak enough to let her, and I was desperate enough to be manipulated. We all played our parts. But Richard, the difference between you and me is that I didn't know I was playing a part. You did. You knew the truth every single day, and you chose to keep lying. That's what I can't forgive yet. The daily choice to deceive. He nods, understanding. There's nothing more to say. We've said it all. Now we just have to live with the consequences. 3 days pass in a strange, suspended reality. Richard and I move through the apartment like ghosts, speaking only when necessary. Nathaniel doesn't come home. He's staying at a hotel in the city, texting me occasionally with updates I know he's not sharing with his father. Reached out to Isabella's cousin. They're connecting us. Then, video call scheduled with her tomorrow morning. Sophie arrives Monday evening, flying in from London confused about why I asked her to come home early. I meet her at the apartment alone. Richard is at the office, giving me space to tell our daughter the truth before tomorrow's will reading. She's sitting on the couch, jet-lagged and worried when I sit down across from her. 23 years old, my daughter who looks so much like Richard that sometimes it hurts. My biological child. The distinction matters now in ways it never did before. Mom, you're scaring me. What's going on? I tell her everything. I watch my daughter's face move through shock, disbelief, anger, and finally tears. When I finish, she's crying, and I'm holding her while she processes that her grandmother was a monster, her father a coward, and her brother not actually her biological brother. But he's still my brother, Sophie says fiercely. DNA doesn't change that. No, I agree. It doesn't. Where is he? Can I see him? He's at the Four Seasons. He needs some space, but I think he'd want to see you. Sophie grabs her phone immediately, texting Nathaniel. Within minutes, she's out the door, heading to her brother. I'm alone again with the wreckage of our family, but there's something beautiful in watching my children find each other in the middle of this chaos. Tuesday morning arrives. The four of us meet at the lawyer's office. The tension is suffocating. Nathaniel won't look at Richard. Sophie keeps reaching for her brother's hand. Richard looks like he hasn't slept since I told him about the DNA results. I feel numb, like I'm watching all of this happen to someone else. Eleanor's lawyer, a distinguished man in his 70s named Howard Chen, greets us solemnly. Before we begin the formal reading of the will, Mrs. Ashford left specific instructions regarding a sealed container. It must be opened in the presence of all principal heirs. He places a metal box on the conference table. Inside are Eleanor's diaries, exactly as I'd already read in the digital copies my investigator provided. But I say nothing. Let them discover it as Eleanor intended. Howard opens the box, removes leather-bound journals. Mrs. Ashford left instructions that these are to be read aloud. She documented certain family matters that she felt needed to be disclosed after her death. Richard starts to object, but I cut him off. Read them. All of it. No more secrets. So Howard reads. Page after page of Eleanor's cold, calculating documentation of how she orchestrated Nathaniel's adoption. The payments to Isabella, the manufactured story, her contempt for me, her disappointment in Richard, her belief that she was protecting the Ashford legacy. Her notes about inferior genes and Sophie being the true grandchild. Sophie is crying silently. Nathaniel's face is stone. Richard looks like he wants to disappear. I sit there feeling vindicated and devastated in equal measure. This is proof that I'm not crazy, that my instincts about Eleanor were right all along. But it's also documentation of how badly I was fooled. When Howard finishes reading, the conference room is silent except for Sophie's quiet sobs. "There's more," Howard says carefully. "Mrs. Ashford left specific bequests. To Richard, the Connecticut house and $10 million. To Sophie, $5 million and her jewelry collection. And to Nathaniel..." He pauses. $20 million, with a letter. Nathaniel's head snaps up. "What?" Howard hands him an envelope. Nathaniel opens it with shaking hands, reads silently. Then he reads aloud, his voice bitter. "Nathaniel, if you're reading this, you know the truth about your origins. I owe you an explanation, though you may not want to hear it. I did what I did to protect the Ashford family, but also to give you opportunities you never would have had as the illegitimate child of an illegal immigrant. You received the best education, the best upbringing, a family name that opened doors. Your biological mother could never have given you these things. I won't apologize for my choices, but I will acknowledge that you paid a price for them. This money is yours, free and clear, no strings attached. Build whatever life you want. You've earned it, Eleanor." "She's still controlling things even now," Nathaniel says quietly. "Even from the grave, she can't just apologize. She has to justify, to make it about the Ashford legacy." "You don't have to accept it," Richard says. It's the first thing he's said all morning. "I'm taking every penny," Nathaniel says coldly. "She's right about one thing. I did pay a price for her choices. This doesn't even begin to cover it." The will reading continues. Properties, investments, charitable foundations. "Eleanor left me nothing, which doesn't surprise me. Even in death, her contempt is clear." When it's finally over, we file out of the office in silence. On the sidewalk outside, Nathaniel turns to all of us. "I spoke with Isabella yesterday. Video call for 2 hours. She cried for the first 45 minutes. She told me everything from her perspective. She was 26, terrified, illegal, and alone. Grandmother made her an offer she couldn't refuse. She didn't want to give me up, but she couldn't see another option." "Are you going to see her?" Sophie asks. "I'm flying to Rome on Thursday. She wants to meet. She's been waiting 27 years for this chance." Nathaniel looks at me. "She asked about you, Mom. About the woman who raised me. I told her you were extraordinary, that you loved me unconditionally, that you were lied to just like I was." Tears are streaming down my face now. What did she say? She said she's grateful, that knowing I was loved made the last 27 years bearable, that she thinks about you often, wonders what kind of person could take a stranger's child and love him so completely. Nathaniel steps closer, takes my hands. "She's not trying to replace you, Mom. She just wants to know me, and I need to know her. I need to understand where I came from." "I know," I tell him, "and I support you completely. She deserves to know the incredible man her son became." Nathaniel hugs me. Over his shoulder, I see Richard watching, his face destroyed. He's lost so much through his own cowardice, his son's trust, his wife's respect, his mother's protection. He's finally facing consequences he's run from for 27 years. Sophie joins our hug. The three of us stand there on a Manhattan sidewalk, holding each other. Richard remains separate, outside the circle, as it should be. He needs to earn his way back into this family, if that's even possible. That night, I'm alone in the apartment. Richard is staying at a hotel. Nathaniel and Sophie are having dinner together, siblings reconnecting. My phone rings. Unknown number with an Italian country code. "Hello? Mrs. Ashford? This is Isabella Romano." Her English is accented but clear. "I hope it's okay that I'm calling. Nathaniel gave me your number. I wanted to speak with you before I meet him." My heart is pounding. "Of course. What would you like to say?" "Thank you." Her voice breaks. "Thank you for loving my son when I couldn't. Thank you for giving him everything I couldn't give him. Thank you for being his mother when I was too much of a coward to fight for him. I will spend the rest of my life being grateful to you. I'm crying now. You weren't a coward. You were young and scared and trapped. Eleanor gave you an impossible choice. You did what you had to do to survive. That's kind of you to say. But I think about him every day, every birthday, every holiday, wondering what he looked like, what he was doing, if he was happy. The money Eleanor gave me, I invested it. I built a business. I have a good life. But there has always been a hole where my son should be. He's remarkable, I tell her. Brilliant, kind, ambitious, everything you could hope for. Because of you, Isabella says softly. You made him who he is. I just gave him DNA. You gave him everything else. We talk for an hour. Two mothers who love the same child, connected by Eleanor's manipulation, but finding our own path forward. By the end, we're both crying and laughing. She tells me about Tuscany, about her translation business, about the life she built from the ashes of giving up her son. I tell her about raising Nathaniel, about his first steps and first words and all the moments she missed. Will you be okay with him knowing me? Isabella asks. I don't want to take him from you. You can't take him from me, I say with certainty. He's not a possession. He's a person who deserves to know both of his mothers. There's enough love to go around. When we hang up, I feel lighter than I have in days. This is what moving forward looks like. Not forgetting what happened, not pretending the lies didn't hurt, but choosing connection over bitterness. 6 months later, I'm in Rome. Nathaniel arranged it, wanting his two mothers to meet in person. Isabella and I have coffee in Trastevere, in a small cafe with sunshine pouring through the windows. She's smaller than I expected, softer. We hug like old friends, two women bound by love for the same extraordinary man. Nathaniel watches us, relieved and happy. He splits his time now between Boston, New York, and Rome. He has two mothers, two homes, a richer understanding of who he is. Sophie visits when she can, delighted to have what she calls Italian family. Richard and I are separated, maybe eventually divorced, maybe not. I haven't decided yet. He's in therapy, finally dealing with decades of avoiding his mother's control and his own cowardice. Sometimes I think there might be a path back to him. Most days I know there isn't. But I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm 56 years old, financially independent, surrounded by children who love me. I survived Eleanor's manipulation. I survived Richard's betrayal. I built a relationship with Isabella that neither of us expected but both of us needed. Eleanor thought she was protecting the Ashford legacy through her schemes and secrets. But she was wrong. The legacy isn't in the name or the money or the carefully maintained appearances. It's in Nathaniel, thriving despite the lies he was built on. It's in Sophie, fiercely loyal to her brother. It's in two mothers who chose love over competition. It's in truth finally told, no matter how painful. As I sit in this Roman cafe, watching Isabella and Nathaniel laugh together, I realize something. Eleanor lost. Her desperate attempts to control everything from beyond the grave failed. We took her secrets and her manipulations, and we built something better, something honest, something real. I raise my coffee cup to them, to my son and his other mother, to new beginnings built on painful truths, to families that transcend biology and deception, to love that survives everything, even lies that lasted 27 years. This is what victory looks like. Not revenge, not bitterness, but choosing each other despite everything that tried to tear us apart. Eleanor thought she was protecting us with her lies. Instead, she gave us something more valuable, the chance to rebuild our family on foundation of truth. And we did.